Hey guys, and welcome back to Prime Collectibles. I am Jason as always, and today I have another really exciting statue unboxing and review. This is another one in the Berserk lineup. This is actually the last character that I have coming for a while, so I'm really excited to get this one open. I love the look of Skull Knight. I think he's one of the coolest looking characters in the Berserk lineup. He's not my favorite character, but he definitely has a look that is something unique and special. When I say unique, I know there are other characters in lore that look like him. Aradin from The Witcher, I think probably ripped him off. I don't think that that came first, although I could be wrong. But he just really has a look that stands out. Those glowing eyes, the skull and skeleton-based armor. Awesome. But in the meantime, guys, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel more than you guys can imagine, so I do appreciate it. And without further ado, guys, let's get into the unboxing. So let's open the first box here, and inside we have a number of the smaller pieces. Sword swap outs, shield, cape. And then in the second box, we find the base and Skull Knight's body and Egg of the Perfect World. All right, guys, so what's inside the box? Got a QD1 calendar. We got two of the same Batman promotional poster, and we got the assembly instructions. Whoa. All right, guys, so here's the base, and it is massive. This is the size of the human Zod base, which I was not expecting. It's really big around, and a lot of little detail to talk about in here. So you've got the trunk of this tree, which has a very Game of Thrones three-eyed raven vibe to it. Really cool. You got the chunks of rock underneath the tree that it's kind of growing around. Really nice detail. And then it gets into the earthy tones here, and then into almost a muddy orange tone around the edges here where the candles are. That is really nice detail. I like that a lot. But the shining, no pun intended, but the shining piece of this base to me are the candles. These really have a waxy feel. Obviously, the typical, all the Prime 1 bases, the sub bases kind of have this design. Very cool, it looks almost Viking-esque. And then let's look at the bottom. This is gonna be heavy to pick up, but I'll see what I can do here. There's only 200 of these things. I didn't actually realize that. I don't know if that's just the EX version, but 200, that's a very low edition size, which makes me even more excited to have this thing in person. All right, guys, so as you can see, there are a lot of pieces that make up this statue and a lot of big pieces here. So let's get into them. First of all, we've got one of Skull Knight's swords. Super cool. As you can see, lots of different variations in the tones of the metal here. This looks like more of a deeper steel. This looks almost like an oxidized type metal. Very cool with the bronzy colors along the edges. Same thing on this piece, although obviously you can see that let me try and get it in camera here, but you can see that this one actually has his armor here. There's this separate piece that kind of comes off. It actually comes in the box attached though, so we'll put that back on. In his on the other side of the arm there, you can really see that sort of bronzing color. Very cool. And then underneath that, it looks like strands of leather. I'm not sure if that's actually just him, the Skull Knight, and that's what his flesh looks like, or if it's some sort of strands of protective leather. I don't know, but it's very cool. Next, we'll look at his other sword, his Behelit sword. The sword that he uses to tear through the fabric of space-time, I guess is what it is, because he tears into different dimensions with it. Very cool. You can see the little eyes of the different Behelits that it's absorbed, and the guard has the thorny sort of vine that goes right up into it. Very cool. Won't get into too much detail on this. It's really just a different position of his arm, but the details are the same Behelit sword. I really like this translucent material. I don't know if it's a translucent resin that they use for the Behelit sword. Gives it a really interesting look, just a little bit see-through, but a nice pop of color throughout it. We've got the mandible of Skull Knight, the bottom of his skull, that it looks like the top of his head is going to sort of pop onto it here. I apologize if it's not directly centered. It's tough to do that here. And as you can see, again, some sort of protective leather armor under him, or this is actually just what his flesh looks like almost sinewy, muscly leather. Very cool. Now we have the base. This is a kind of like a little mini base of a little guy that we'll see in a second here. I won't spoil it for you. But some nice detailing there. I think this is probably it's like a neck guard that he has with these spikes that come up around. Again, really nice detail in the metal. You can see how there are sort of grooves and nicks where he's been in battle, and this has probably protected his neck. I think this is a shoulder pad. This is probably one of his shoulder pads with again, the spikes, his trademark spikes coming off of the edge. Really nice. Again, you can kind of see that bronzing along the edge, maybe from oxidization or something along the edges of them. Really gives it an authentic weathered look. You can see chunks out of the edge. And his other shoulder pad, same thing here. But really take note of how imperfect everything looks. It's so cool. It doesn't look like, it looks like it's been forged, by a hammer or however they used to make armor back in the days, but it doesn't look perfect, and that makes it so much more interesting looking and authentic looking. Another piece of his armor here. I'm not actually sure what this is. Maybe it's his breastplate? I really don't know. Man, what a beautiful looking shield. Again, even more so here, you can see how it's just not perfect, like it's been hammered into shape. Down along the edge there, it almost looks like it's been in dirt a little bit. That doesn't really look like, you can see the colors where it looks like it's oxidized, and then at the bottom there it really looks like it's actually just been dragged through dirt. Really, really nice looking stuff. It looks so authentic. Little potholes out of this, and then you've got the Skull Knight sort of logo on the shield here. Man, oh, and this is cool. Even in the back, I mean, they don't have to do this. Of course, you'll never see this, but you can see the straps where his, take these things out. But you can see the straps where he's holding the shield in place there. Really cool leather with the buckles. Now let's look at this little guy. I am so tempted to say more about him, but I'm not going to, because it could be very spoilery if I get into who this guy is, but he's a really interesting looking little character, and definitely a bit of a sad story if you get into it. I really encourage all of you guys who haven't read the manga or watched the anime, especially read the manga. Guy, he's really well sculpted. The fine little wrinkles under his eyes, the teeth are just really well done. The lips, slightly different colors, the bones sort of protruding off of his back. He's kind of like, he's like a behelit, but he's not. Again, I'm not going to get into it, but really, really nicely sculpted, this guy. Look at the detail in the eyes even. Makes you feel sad looking at this. Now let's look at Skull Knight's head, the top of his head here. Lots of nice detail there. It's interesting, it's not as big as I was expecting, considering how big this statue is. His head is relatively small. I know this is just part of it, but yeah, interesting. And you can see the little hints of his eyes in there that do light up, and I'm really excited to see how that looks. I guess here's where the batteries go in, I would imagine. Oh yeah, there it is right there. So I'm not sure what these things are, but they come in this little bag, and there's 2 of them. I guess we'll find out. They look like little pieces of bone. Interesting. Here's his logo, which will go onto the front, his crest, I should say, front of the base. And now let's get into his body. All right, and here is his body. Man, this is cool, and it's also really heavy. But just quickly, the detailing in his rib cage here, or at least the armor that looks like a rib cage, so freaking cool. Again, you can see that sort of back behind there. I keep blowing on him because it looks like he's dusty, but that's just how they've made him. They've made him look worn and like weathered and dusty. Very cool. You can see that these sort of thigh protection pieces are strapped on with leather straps. Really nice detail. There's a bit of mixed media under here. that sort of matches his cape. That's kind of cool. If you look around the back here, you can see that his spine is exposed, or at least the spine of their armor. Really, really nice detailing. I love how his armor all sort of mimics a skeleton. You know, you got the tailbone here. Very, very nice detail. And then as you get into here, you know, the calves and the and all the details. It's like a mixture of bones and musculature, but in a armor form. In here you can see sort of like strands of muscle almost, but in armor form. And then all the spikes. Different pieces of him are a little bit different colored, almost again like he's oxidized. You can see the bit of a more bronzing in certain areas of where the spikes are, maybe because it's a different type of metal used. Man, just really, really intricate detail. And then as you get down into his feet, you can see that you get sort of that mud color a little bit more. And I love how his feet guards or whatever you call these when it comes to armor have claws on them. That's so cool. Let's look on the back here. I will mention that his mixed media cape, again, you know, I said this numerous times, but I'm not a big fan of mixed media. But this one kind of looks like the Berserk, the Guts one, where there's lots of different tones and colors in it. I see hints of green, I see hints of brown, grays, and it feels nice and sturdy as well, which is nice. I think this is really going to look good once we kind of put it all together. So let's do that now. Let's put them all together and see how he looks assembled. Okay guys, so here is Berserk's Skull Knight all put together, and man, I feel really fortunate because this is the second Prime 1 piece I've unboxed and reviewed in the past couple days that is just an absolute hit. It's just awesome. Like I always say, when Prime 1 does something right, they really do it right. When they nail a statue, they freaking nail it, and I think that they really nailed this. You know, I've gone over some of the details already when I was pulling them out of the box, but let's just talk about a few things with it all together. First of all, his stance, his composition, the cape. You guys know that I don't generally like mixed media capes, but this cape and the way you can get it in these really interesting poses, I think works perfectly. It's awesome. His Behelit sword, which I didn't even think I would choose. I really liked his pose with him kind of with the sword in the ground, but now that I see the Behelit sword and the color and the pop of color it brings to this statue, even just the pommel on the bottom of the sword, that red, I think it really works. Even the little add-on, the Egg of the Perfect World, I think is really nicely done. There's nice color gradients in him. The color in the eye really pops. Phenomenal work from Prime 1 here. The candles look like wax, and as you can see now with the batteries in here, the light up feature kind of has that sort of dimming and brightening effect that makes them look like real candles, like they're flickering. His eyes lit up. If I'm gonna point out any flaws, it's really, I guess, that the base, now that I have him on here, when I look at the base, it is a little bit uniform in color. There are variations in the brown tones around his feet there in the mud, but it could have used maybe something to give it a little bit more interest. Some stones, you know, placed around so that there's a bit more interest to that base instead of just sort of like a flat, muddy area at his feet. But it's a very minor nitpick. I'm appreciating things about these Berserk statues more now that I have this in front of me, and it brings out things I haven't noticed in these Berserk statues. So I love this. It's gonna get a 9 out of 10 for me. It is a beautiful, beautiful statue. Another, massive swing and hit out of the park. Is that a saying? Hit out of the park? Whatever. It's a massive win from Prime 1, this one. So I couldn't be happier. Okay guys, so that's it for this review. Soon I will be having more reviews coming. I have a couple other statues on their way that I'll be reviewing. I have some smaller figures that I got in that apparently you guys want to see reviews on, so that's really exciting for me. Some Ninja Turtle stuff. Like I said, Attack on Titan, a smaller Kotobukiya scale, or a smaller scale Kotobukiya statue. And then I'm gonna do some other videos. I think I really wanna do a video on statue companies and what I've noticed trends in their specific style and the way that they make statues. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but it'll be on maybe my top 5 statue companies and what I notice in terms of how they create their statues. So lots of good stuff coming up, guys. As always, please do like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. And until next time, later.